Hey everyone, it's Mr. Valentin, and today we're going to take a look at hairs from Sandra Cisneros' The House on Mango Street. Today we're going to look at three different types of craft moves she uses throughout her short story here. So the first thing we're going to look at is what we call the roll call. The second thing we're going to look at is repetition. And the third thing we're going to examine is abstract similes/metaphors. So the first thing I'm going to start with is just reading our story, Hairs. So, hairs. Everybody in our family has different hair. My papa's hair is like a broom, all up in the air. And me, my hair is lazy. It never obeys barrettes or bands. Carlos's hair is thick and straight. He doesn't need to comb it. Nenny's hair is slippery, slides out of your hand. And Kiki, who is the youngest, has hair like fur. But my mother's hair, like little rosettes, like little candy circles, all curly and pretty because she pinned it in pin curls all day, sweet to put your nose into when she is holding you and you feel safe, is the warm smell of bread before you bake it, is the smell when she makes room for you on her side of the bed, still warm with her skin, and you sleep near her, the rain outside falling and Papa snoring, the snoring, the rain, and Mama's hair that smells like bread. So looking at the opening of hairs, we have what we call the roll call. And what we see right here is there is a specific trait that Cisneros is focusing on, which is the hair, and then lists everybody in her family and their different hair. But take note that after she mentions the person and gives a description, she offers a further clarification of the character. Here we are. So she begins, "My papa's hair is like a broom," followed by clarification, "all up in the air. And me, my hair is lazy," clarification, "it never obeys barrettes or bands. Carlos's hair is thick and straight," clarification, "he doesn't need to comb it," and on and on. So I'm wondering how this clarification creates more vivid imagery. And is it possible in your own writing to try something like this? The second thing we're going to note is the repetition. Now, usually when we see repetition in poetry. It's often used to emphasize an idea in a stronger way. But here, it's almost used as a second breath, a moment to say, this is the best thing ever. This is fantastic. Note the second paragraph. But my mother's hair, like little rosettes, like little candy circles. So you notice that that second, my mother's hair, it's showing the audience how much it means to her. Um, you see this breath. It occurs again later on, right after that. So I'll continue. But my mother's hair, like little rosettes, like little candy circles, all curly and pretty because she pinned it in pin curls all day, sweet to put your nose into when she's holding you, and you feel safe, is the warm smell of bread before you bake it. So note how she uses the phrase holding you, right? And that second repetition, it creates comfort, it emphasizes the idea. This is effective repetition. So again, if you're writing a story, can you repeat a small phrase to emphasize its value? Last thing we're going to talk about is the abstract metaphor. So usually when we have a metaphor or a simile, you'll hear something like, she is as pretty as a rose. And it's very literal, like a rose is a pretty object, and therefore she is pretty. Here, her mother's hair is compared to the warm smell of bread. And we have to think to ourselves, why that? It's almost a disconnect from what we're used to hearing. There could be a couple things she's thinking about with the bread. It could be something maybe she's done with her mother before. It could be that idea of comfort, right? And that would connect to the holding you. It could be something sacramental. It could be a reference to later on in the story. I'm thinking of the rice sandwich. So I wonder if it's possible to do metaphors or similes in a way that's more complex than we're used to. Not so obvious that it's slippery like oil, but something a little bit different that forces the audience to think. So for today's View It and Do It, I want you to think about a trait of all of your family members. And I want you to list them, offering that extra bit of clarification along the way. Our second step, I want you to use repetition somewhere when describing one person. A moment where you need to repeat, that needs that extra breath because it's so important. And the third thing I want you to try while you're doing this, I want you to try to create an abstract metaphor or simile. Once you've done that, come and see me and we'll work on through it.